So I invite the speakers again to be ready to discuss a little bit more about their projects and about the general scenario that they can see for cybersecurity in Europe. So I understand at the moment we don't have pending questions from the audience from the previous parts. So I invite you all to submit if you have questions or comments to the chat box or to the Q&A box. But I would like to start the panel. So if the representatives of the project can turn on their cameras, I would like to give you the possibility to start with an opening statement. Now, you already presented the project, so it's not so much about that. What I would like to understand is, first of all, for the ones that I apologize, but we couldn't let you complete the presentation. If there is some more detail or some specific things that were left out that you want to add, you're welcome. But then what I would like to say in the opening statement is, how do you position your project with respect to the others, or what have you learned from the other presentation, and what kind of collaboration you see between your project and the others? Because as you know, this workshop is about the synergy and let's say bigger picture of European Union-made cybersecurity. And of course, we heard different stories from you, different use cases, different domains, and you have different focus and strengths that you can maybe combine with the others. So if it's okay with you also to make my life a little easier, I would like to go in the same order of the presentation so that then I have the list here and I'm sure not to miss anybody, okay? So if it's possible, the first then would be the spatial project. So if...
Hello, Giovanni.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm speaking on behalf of Matsusanka because he had to leave.
Yeah,
He'll be back,
that's good.
I guess, in 10 minutes, but I'm not the technical partner. So
okay,
okay,
we put you then later if you want. If you are not speaking, then I can wait. Okay. Then the next will be the KRAKEN project. Yeah, no problem, no problem. So if Juan Carlos is still here for the KRAKEN project, you could start with the opening statement. Okay, then Cristobal from IDUNN project.
Yes, sorry, we are in the same situation as Blanca mentioned. Sorry for this. The technical person left because he could not stay.
Okay, then ELECTRON project, Panagiotis, are you there?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Giovanni.
So you go. I mean, you heard me, right? Just in the general context, how you see the position of your project and how you would like what you would like to collaborate with the others on and so on.
Yes. Thank you. Really happy to to be here and getting all this feedback from the other projects as well. Since what I can see here is that we're all working on some common objectives, and many of us working also towards the protection, the cybersecurity, the trust on critical infrastructure like energy, healthcare, transportation, and more like that. So from our project, since this is coming, ELECTRON is coming as a series from old ones, and what our experience says here is that one of the most important things we could share and build on is the common datasets coming from real environments and captured with a very real context and emulating what is happening in real environments on critical infrastructure. So, as I said, we already shared, and they are open to the community, 2 datasets for EEC 104 and DNB3. So, for all projects that are interested in using them, or to start discussing with ELECTRON of how we can together collaborate on this, not only for research purposes, but also for using these datasets in another pilots, or in real infrastructure using in other projects, that would be very, very useful. And also, as many speakers also highlighted, it's very important. These data sets are also very important to increase the validity and to process the validation of the algorithms used. And also, given that many projects are using federated learning, what is important with that aspect is that the real data sets are not exposed. So maybe if you have any, if the projects have any legal issues and they are not able to share, such information, what we could do is to share not real data, but models, so federated models. So it would be very, very useful to see what happens if global models are fed by models coming from totally different environments like energy and healthcare, or energy and transportation, etc. And by closing, what I would like also to pinpoint here is the need for fostering common activities in terms of information. So what we are using here is MISP interconnection. So MISP could be a very good starting point for all the projects, not only the participants of the project, the consortium of the project, but also the stakeholders and all the individuals and all the cluster behind that are interesting to join such activities and to be in line by having all this information, the best practices, the training activities, and all the access to the lessons learned and the experience we got already from the projects, and to share our common view to the community. So as, for example, if something new happens, a new kind of cybersecurity or a new kind of attack tactic, so all this community would be in line and in close communication, so as to share a common practice, a good tool, or something something useful for them to make all the countermeasures, like a configuration, best configuration for dealing with this cyber attack. So to conclude, three main aspects coming from ELECTRON. First, sharing data sets coming from industrial, real, or emulated environments. Second, exchanging information, maybe using MISP interfaces. And third, maybe to see also common pilots, or sharing data sets to different pilots or federated models to see what happens, and to make more experiences and more evidence and outputs coming from totally different domains in the context of critical infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there Monica or someone from the SECANT project?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, very good.
So thank you, because I think Panagiotis cover very relevant topics where synergies and collaboration can be achieved. I want to complement those. I want to reinforce one of them. In SECANT, I didn't mention specifically, but our threat intelligence model is also based on MISP. So I was interested when Panagiotis, you told us about this network for MISP, and I think most of the projects share it. So belonging to this network, I'm not an expert in MISP. I'm the technical manager. It's not connected today. I just have a more high-level knowledge. But I think if all the projects are based on MISP for the identification of risk, for sure there is space for collaboration. In my personal experience, I think that sometimes the collaboration is challenging, since in all the projects, all the partners are focused on their own objectives, and time is always restrictive, and efforts are very limited. But what can be successful is to share the best experience or the results that others can leverage for their own purpose. So I really think that we in SECANT, we were thinking about organizing or how to promote the organization of technical workshops, more focus on working, you know, and sharing real or focus on specific aspects of the topics that we are covering. So one of them is the identification of risk in complex ICT infrastructures. And if we even can focus that more in using MISP and how we can collaborate or learn with from the experience of the others, or leverage on the results of the others, I think this can be very, very interesting. Then another thing I identify in the different projects is that some of us are also relying on blockchain for all the trust and accountability. So the access of the users to data to ensure or to minimize the risk. There was another project, and I cannot remember right now, that they were also using a wallet app, and I think also this aspect is common to various projects, and it also can be good to share some experience and analyze the compatibility also for the European research community. I mean, one thing is our projects, but our projects are one of the easiest funding this project, since the idea is that there is a return to the European community. So if there is some common best practices that we can share, some, I won't say standards, because it's not the word I want to say, but yes, the best practice, how to implement this kind of digital identification so they are more successful or they have more acceptance. I think it's also a commonality between the different projects. And my third point was about the training. In SECANT, as I was saying, we put a focus on also the human level. Also Sentinel, I think if I recall correctly, they were focusing on training. We have pilots for training. We have to see collaboration in two different kind of ways. First of all, because we have pilots and we need some professionals to use the training material we are creating for non-IT professionals. So maybe having the pilots of other sectors can be also good, and understand if the training material we are creating, it's tailored to the healthcare sector or can be abstracted and applicable to other sectors. This is on one thing. And the other is aspect is also regarding the best practices regarding training, since people normally are reluctant unless they are obliged to do some training on cybersecurity, because it's some kind of worry when thinking about health professionals. Or I remember from people from SENTINEL and another workshop telling that it could be challenging to engage them into these training activities. So to share various experiences and ways to make this more engaging, to ensure that not just the experts, but in general, the European community, the population, the general population can be better trained for cyber risk. I think it's a very interesting aspect.
Thank you. And next, Sergio or Pedro from ARCADIAN-IoT, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Okay.
Very good.
I would like to pick up on the workshop's main topic, in my opinion, which was the demonstrating how the projects reflect into the needs and address the needs of real application domains or sectors, right? And this is, well, very importantly, as mentioned, directly related to the training importance, right? I would like also to stress, even from the point of view of the end users' involvement in the project, it would be nice to share some lessons or learn on how to from the project execution point of view, to address these different needs. For instance, in ARCADIAN-IoT, we have both SMEs, which either inherently address the cybersecurity and principles, and they are already leverage this knowledge internally when designing their solutions, while others are completely agnostic to this. So they really need we really need technical experts to give the hand for this in order to understand how we can solve their issues, how we can improve the security of their products. So it has been an interesting challenge from even from the project execution point of view on how to handle this. Okay, I would also, picking up from what Panagiotis mentioned, it was really interesting for me to see the information about datasets. One of the domains we are addressing as well is industrial critical systems, so in particular the smart grids. So it can actually be useful for us to analyze internally how the data sets could be used, for instance, for the AI models, and particularly I really supported the suggestion of considering the sharing of models. Again, we are also addressing and exploring federated AI, where we have the limitations on which data can actually be shared, right? So moreover, I would also like to stress that the other commonalities that actually some of you have already mentioned, right? Besides the federated AI, the SSI and the blockchain, right? There are many challenges associated to this, especially to the need for tailoring sometimes different blockchains for supporting different things, and this leads to huge complexity. And I would like to see some knowledge and lessons learned shared for this. For instance, there can be the need for supporting using different approaches, SSI solutions for devices than those for identifying persons. The MISP and CTI topic it's a really interesting one, and certainly there are different assumptions with respect to the way these are being considered, in the sense, for instance, we in ARCADIAN-IoT were really exploring how it can be enhanced, how the tool can be enhanced for instance, having more efficient threat information being shared. So even addressing the extension or the format of the messages, while others typically are just using it as a tool. Well, and again, it would be interesting to cross the lessons learned, fuel the training that can be done for this, and the standardization point. I think it would be interesting to analyze how the multiple projects are collectively supporting or contributing to standardization, considering the EU ambitions in increasing the contribution to standards by European entities. And well, last but not least, and probably this will make sense later near to the closure of the projects, or even after the ending, it would be interesting to share some lessons specifically from the point of view of what would have been done differently than initially planned, looking at the specificities of the technologies that have been considered. And that's it from my side.
Thank you, Sergio. And then the TRUSTaWARE project, Javier or Angel?
Yes, thank you, Giovanni. I will try to be brief because I must leave the meeting in a couple of minutes. So basically, I agree with, well, you saw that in our presentation about the MISP instance and how to share information that is relevant for different types of stakeholders. So as mentioned, we have a MISP that is currently up and running. We have contacts with different organizations that are members of the advisory board. So we are trying to connect our MISP with other instances and also identify the relevant sources. Well, in our case, it's more about privacy than security, because we understand that there is more content on the security side and less on the privacy one. So we are trying to focus on this area of privacy. And also one of our partners has developed a taxonomy that extends the security taxonomy in order to include this into the MISP architecture, into a MISP platform. And we are open, as I said at the beginning, to connect with other projects and also with other organizations. Then, in terms of other collaboration with other projects, I also saw that some of us, or most of us, are targeting the same type of stakeholders, organizations, policymakers. Also, there is a relevant part of our TRUSTaWARE project, which is which is addressing certification and standardization. This is something that we had no time to explain in detail, but there are I think 3 tasks working on this with the experts in the field. So there may be room for collaboration in this area too. And what else? About the respective tools. Well, the tools that are being developed, some of them will be open source, so they will be available for testing and also for being used by different types of users. They are being validated, as Angel mentioned, by by volunteers from 4 different countries. So these groups are already made, but perhaps some kind of validation by other organizations, other people, maybe also work for the project. And I think that's it from my side.
Thank you very much. And then next would be Ruben from Sentinel project, I think.
Yes.
Very good.
I pretty much, I would have to say that I pretty much agree with what was mentioned before. Also from Sentinel perspective, one of the dimensions that I think that we can try also to try to look for collaborations between the several projects. It's with regards to the validation of basically the platforms that we are providing here. So for instance, in Sentinel, the platform that we are providing, it's more specifically towards SMEs and micro enterprises. So with this respect, what we are proposing here has to be very simple. It has to be something that SMEs can understand, can work with it. So reducing complexity here, it's a must. And something that we need to address is basically to validate from, I would say, a UI and UX end user perspective, if what we are proposing here, it's targeting to the specific needs of the SMEs. We have 2 SMEs inside the consortium that, of course, will validate and test Sentinel platform. But I guess it would be beneficial for Sentinel to also enlarge the composition of tryouts. So it would be also very nice within also the other projects, because I know that there are also other SMEs involved. If we can get some, I would say, some feedback with regards to what we are proposing in terms of UI and UX. So this is pretty much something that could be also, it's a requirement not only from Sentinel, but I guess that other projects also have these kinds of concerns. So I would say that with regards to validation and testing, this is something that we can try to figure out if we can think of an approach in order to better extend this part. Also something that was mentioned, and here from the technical perspective, for instance, regarding with MISP platform. So I guess that this is also something, I would say, a common denominator in, I would say, the majority of the projects. So probably here this is something that we can also try to foresee some kind of a joint collaboration and joint workout with regards to the connection and the usage of this kind of platform. Also, something that was mentioned by Monica regarding the training and education. So one of the dimensions in Sentinel is actually to train and to educate users. So yes, so in this regard, also that would be beneficial is how we can make sure that the curriculums or also the content that we are addressing the end users are tailor-made. So once again, if they are understandable, if they are not complex, if they are readable, and actually end users can use it properly. So once again, we are talking here about validation. And of course, the training material could also be something that we can also try to find some collaborations and some synergies. And yeah, last but not least, regarding the certification and the standardization, this is also another important aspect that is also being addressed by the European Commission. And sometimes it's to some extent neglected or not putting too much focus and emphasis from projects. But I guess that also in Sentinel, since we are talking here on measures, since we are talking here on processes, the need for using something that is standardized and also to look for certification mechanisms here can also be seen as a good value added. So any kind of collaboration here, joint collaboration, could also be seen in this perspective. And yes, that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, Rodrigo from the IRIS project.
So first of all, I would like to reinforce the message introduced by Panagiotis about the collaboration. I mean, in IRIS, I mean, IRIS is about collaboration, about efficient collaboration with third, but in general within entities. So we are building on top of MeliThird, but as you know, MeliThird offers additional service on top of MISP. So we are happy to exchange through MISP any lesson learned inside the project. This is the first point. The second one is we have seen this morning several projects addressing the threats related to IoT, which is good, but we have seen less projects addressing the specificities of AI-based systems, which is, I think, also an area in which perhaps less known. I mean, and an area in which I think we can join forces in order to, you know, have a better coverage of the detection and also, but also the response, or how to robustify this type of systems. And the third one is about training. We are also covering the training. We have our cyber range platform. We are providing several materials. So I think since several projects are covering this, I think it will be useful to have a kind of common database or common repository for, you know, putting there all these materials that we are creating in these projects in order to have a bigger knowledge base. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you all. And unless some of the people that left are back, they'll please let me know. Otherwise, I would move on with other questions. I also don't think we have anything from the public, so I would like to ask you all, let's say, a connection with the domain of cloud edge IoT infrastructure, because you are familiar most likely with the general trend of a group of calls that have to do with the convergence between cloud computing and IoT. First, there were the calls about the whole infrastructure, cloud edge IoT. Then there were the call about cognitive cloud, that is, let's put some AI in the system to make it self-manageable. Then there were the call on swarm computing. And then now there is an active call that is called the cognitive computing continuum, right? So there is AI, there is cloud, there is edge IoT, and everything. In that call, there is even the invitation to collaborate with projects in the area of cybersecurity. Of course, we are talking Horizon Europe in this case, right? So I would like to know from you how do you think that this trend, right, towards this more complex heterogeneous infrastructure, let's say, what are the pitfalls, what are the warnings that you think projects or general research activity in cloud edge IoT infrastructure should really take from cybersecurity oriented project and experiences, because you know that sometimes security is not the main focus of infrastructure projects, and the scenario gets more and more complex. So any takers, or we go in order again, how you prefer? So moving from the IoT to the a more complex infrastructure, is there anything that you think new projects should take in mind, should keep in mind in terms of cybersecurity's do's and don'ts? Okay, then maybe we, if no one wants to take this question, then we can talk more about, let's say, what we have in the list.
Yeah, Giovanni, if I may.
Yeah, please.
Just to step in a bit. You know, that's a very, very good point. First of all, since you know, we're talking about many technologies here, but you know, maybe we neglect a very, very important thing about the process time. So we're talking about real time, but this is not by default given here. So we have to work and we have to gain the knowledge coming from the edge computing related projects regarding all the process time and where all these algorithms are trained and are processed. So if we put the edge computing in this scenario, then you know, we move the intelligence from the cloud to the user premises and very close to the data sources. So that would be a good lesson for us, since given that all the cybersecurity and the privacy preserving goes step by step even more complex, then we need also to put in this equation also the process time. So what is the process time right now, for example? What is the exact requirement regarding the real time in terms of detecting an anomaly? So if we exploit the advantages of the edge computing, and at the same time, if we could support a privacy by design architecture, for example, by having federated learning without exposing data, and all the process could be locally, not globally, locally, then we can get many useful lessons from the IoT and the edge computing related projects of how all these algorithms and the process is optimized, and to get these lessons to the cybersecurity domain, since we need this to support real-time or near real-time, since that time is very, very critical for us, so as to detect promptly something, an anomaly or an attack, and also to provide, you know, in terms of standardization, what is the minimum of this time needed for having also certification of the devices and the process. So it's very important to conclude, to get these lessons and to transfer these advantages from the IoT projects for getting easy and, you know, to make a straightforward way for us, mostly for detecting anomalies in real time. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a very important bit, because of course, latency and processing and closeness to data is a big factor in edge computing. But what about also the other way around? So do you see some outcomes that you already in your projects have produced, or that they are insight that you think should be passed to the next generation of projects that try to operate in this AI everywhere, any device, you know, heterogeneous network kind of scenario. And also, if you want, also how this connects with digital autonomy, which is the other aspect why, of course, the Commission insists a lot on edge computing, distributed AI, federated learning, and this topic. So what would you recommend to the next wave of projects that you think you have already learned about this? And how does this relate to the, let's say, higher level European policies and values? Some of you already discussed these things in your presentation.
Yeah, Giovanni, if I may, very, very fast, just to leave some time also for other colleagues in the panel. One major lesson we have learned already from our activities, not only in ELECTRON, but in the past projects as well, is how important it is to provide a lightweight solution for the stakeholders. So the stakeholders should be able to run all these technologies and solutions, you know, given all the capabilities, you know, the hardware and software capabilities they have already. So we should provide them a lightweight solutions. And towards this target is very important to keep everything that is estimated very heavy locally. I mean, at the edge level, and to provide also this design for any kind of stakeholder, even it is you know, a generator or a market oriented organization, or a TSO or a hospital, you know, or a transportation utility. So we need to provide lightweight solutions. So for this purpose, just a recommendation coming from a patent just filed by IBM, which who is a partner of our consortium, is to make solutions, lightweight solutions, to train algorithms promptly. I mean, in a very low latency manner, by having also encrypted data, not only, you know, pure data, not encrypted plain data, but also encrypted data. And given the design we have about federated learning, we can have all this training in a very distributed manner. The latency is coming lower, and we could, at this way, we could provide lightweight solutions to any kind of stakeholder. It's interesting to use these solutions, since, and I'm concluding this phrase, what is important for our project is to make all the stakeholders and the end users to use them. That's the most important thing for us.
Clear. Any further comments, or I don't know, from Monica, or we go again in the order as before? We have like 5 minutes, so I think I would like just a sum up statement from you.
Yeah. Yeah, at the end, the technical manager could not attend, and it's difficult for me to see the relation with the cloud AG. And I can understand what Panagiotis said, and I kind of agree. I was also thinking of all the aspects about the identification of devices that we are developing. It can go beyond IoT. I mean, and some of the models, at least that we are developing in SECANT, can also be deployed in decentralized networks and infrastructure. So also going beyond the IoT and including the edge part of the processing continuum. So I think that the SECANT is still at we are with the early prototypes. So we have a lot of things to be done. But I think that as the project evolves, we will see things that could be applied to the next point in the agenda of the European Commission agenda, for sure, and best practices that can leverage, as well as to also observe the new projects appearing in these fields to learn from them.
Yeah, thank you. I expect that in the last year of the project, there will be also more events. I heard already a couple of examples of further technical workshops and communication actions that you can organize to propagate this result. Again, really just to wrap up, let's finish the round. So maybe Sergio, if you can give the perspective from ARCADIAN-IoT.
Sure. Certainly. Well, it's difficult to complement what the nice input from Panagiotis, certainly. Okay. I really feel also, I also see the importance of the lessons learned from federated AI and confronting it with the European values, right? Its importance for protection of personal data, right? So that the data doesn't leave the local infrastructure, but also from the entities, the company's point of view. It's really critical in the sense that sometimes these entities have the data and they don't know exactly what they should learn with, what they can do with that. And this is where the data space's importance comes in, right? Where there is value in somehow sharing this information in a protected way or ensuring confidentiality so that it can enhance other models, and in the other way around also obtain models which can do a similar or reach an objective which is of interest to the entity. Well, monetizing the data they have, basically, right? So there are, well, wrapping up, there are certainly many lessons that will be able to be shared from these projects which are already exploiting in concrete use cases this federated AI.
Thank you. And then Ruben, same, if you can wrap up from your point of view.
Okay. Just also to go very briefly about this cognitive computing continuum, something that was also expressed very well by Panagiotis and how can be addressed to some extent. I also think that having this federated learning approach could be something that into some extent should be, I would say, addressed and tackled probably in the next generation projects, because I think it all boils down into how we are going to manage complexity. This is what we are talking here. It's the management of the complexity. How, for example, the network can operate itself. How can we? What happens if we need to upgrade or update the network? What are the consequences of that? And I guess that I also tend to agree with what Panagiotis said, that the approach should be very lightweight approaches and very lightweight tools in order to seen as a way to reduce complexity into this perspective. I think this is a very interesting. Interesting topic. But just also to recap and from Sentinel perspective, although we are more focusing here, I would say, on the automate some kind of measures, some kind of compliance with GDPR and personal data protection. But of course, AI here, it's a must in all of this process. And I also pick up in one of the sentences that it's, this is also very nice what we are developing here, but at the end, it's something that needs to be used by the end users. So if the end users don't use it, there is something wrong here with the process. So I think that this is very important to have this kind of iterative approach and having the feedback from the end user side, the end user perspective.
Thank you. And then Rodrigo from me, Iris, and we are.
Yeah. So taking into account the dynamism of the new ICT infrastructures, I mean, cybersecurity must adapt to it and be more decentralized, more federated, as commented, lightweight, but also closer to the edge. Otherwise, I mean, for several applications is mandatory to have this detection closer to the edge, but which is most important, the reaction, also the response. So we need automated response. We need, to block the attack at an early stage. Otherwise, they may have impact on safety. I mean, on the critical use cases. So. And also, besides the lightweight that was commented before by Panos, I think also we need to work on usability and explainability of cybersecurity. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. And then before wrapping up, I saw on the chat that Madhusanka from the spatial project is back. So if you have the chance, I can give you the word, Madhusanka, to also, let's say, wrap up from a spatial project point of view.
Thank you very much. So sorry, I have a lecture, so I have to drop out for a while. So that's it. Yeah. So from the spatial point of view, I think one of the most critical things applying AI in security is going to be important, and it's going to play a bigger role in the security management. And from the spatial point of view, I think not just applying this AI for security, we think we should also ensure these accountability metrics or responsibility metric also need to be met, because that is something we are expecting from the security solutions. So in this regard, so if you think about like AI security or AI privacy or something, so the explainable AI, I think it's like an important technology which we can use in order to ensure this accountability or resilience or explainability metrics can be met. But this is very new field. I mean, a lot of things yet to be done, and for the moment, for example, like whatever the explainability matrices we are using is not stable, so sometimes it can be also a problem. So, but in future, this should be something we have to work really closely and improve. This is really important, especially we want to make sure this AI system or security systems are comply with the ethical policies or the privacy policies or whatever the regulation we are defining. So we have to have a way to verify this AI methods comply with that. So I think explainable AI played a bigger role of enabling that part. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, and thanks to all the speakers, and thanks to the public that had interest and patience to follow us through the workshop. So we've heard different points of view. We've saw the importance of use cases, the general trend toward more AI that creates new challenges, but also holds the promise of innovative solutions to cybersecurity challenges. And if you want to know more, please contact us and any of the 10 projects. You have seen the social media and website links in most of the presentation. And we are, I think, 10 minutes beyond the allotted time. So more or less, I think we did a precise enough job given the number and variety of presentations and interventions. So thanks again to everyone. Have a nice day. And remember, you will also be able to see then the recording that will be published on the project's websites for further consultation. That's all from us. Thanks a lot and have a good day. Goodbye.